(Ngawang I am the host of the protest today. I would like to thank everyone for coming from Europe and even further on this beautiful day.
Hello. Kunsila Tagarare. Ani Kunsila Morando Chatsoina. Europe Nalogi, Purangze Lopuk Sopi in Genzita, and the Jinam Jundo, Tashion, and Jondo, Pui Larja, or Tindigi, Nupa, Chatan Dembigi, Shunjaneti, Teremoraniam to Donzi, Pachuma, Telepemizipicacho. Tandene, Tering Himela, Chunesegio, and Netherlands, Porik Sopi, Tronjita, Subject to the Kotok Sojongi, Tumiche, Tene, Tatering, Tendi Donzibai, Tering Tomartella. Natuki lerem de tola pepiki kono zote mixer kutsop kongo kesa janjela tsupiki kono nambatang chonda kane pepi mema number lenje samala tashtele ta ane shomba leksen de shwayi theta chapchik tola ta teringa to dela kharchine zomre sawayina ane dene ya tsipiki longo tukjure tokke yango chikdong kubjang apchu ngarko lo chenda zumbiki chichu nimo tel trao chamarge thakpugi 독습 챔피언이 독세 센서 제바텔라 자지 메망기 찹시게 간니 챔피게 토네 마트 잠바 징두게 토네 탄들라 통제네 시자 쳬비게 야롱게 랭거 페르치네 테네 손데 테링게 톨라 파토 로 tukju레tuk 독스치네 친요레 디르마텔라 니마치라 독스 숨주투테 냠차서 마치바 가지고 무투네 페리오레 테링가서 딜라 좀코비 쿠바쯤제 태야 숨주투테 제소체 찍부지 마이바 테다 냠돌라 가주 찹시게 간니다 따네 자르지나리 자나이나리 아니 쇼제트 졸아야 지게 나주기 찹시게 nen가테 박자 상보지 샤야게 데링 니모치 차트 열에서 어디 쉬어이 데네 다 데링 가족이 저런 당보테 단다데 부여자갑 쳔부기 잘로 땅야타 니마텔라 아니 다 자마르게 독존나르지 우라 데톤스 치비 자르제 파워 포모남타 아니 녀차르 땡르 사용기 찡에 고자 대신기 부여치나니네 아니 자르제 파 망보치 데톤스 치바 대다기 치돌 냥에 ngakchi share.
Today is a day where history weighs heavy in our hearts, but our voices will rise stronger. It is a day where absence means presence, where a day missing work or taking a leave of school is an act of resistance in itself. On 10 March 1959, thousands of Tibetans gathered in front of the Potala Palace in Lhasa, Tibet. It is a day which has meant resistance for years and years. And we know that this is a day where we do not just remember, it is a day where we resist, and we know we shall return. Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Pugelo!
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 Now I want you to remember that for the past year, we've been feeling a lot of emotions as Tibetans, especially considering the Tingdi earthquake which happened inside of Tibet. We often feel a lot of emotions, but today is a day where we can feel these emotions, where we can shout these emotions. Now we will start the program off with Gyalu, which is the national anthem of Tibet, and afterwards we will have a moment of silence. I would like now to invite the Tibetan singers.
Fish. No. They do.
Se panda de gojoete tu de sambe no bunamba de no se ya che yongwe gu ti le ji ru so ye do je kam so dembe chogu chamse yong nam gu ga wa ya de u pa kong la re pen chong la de shi nga ta ye pen chong che ka sum di che la di ki zong be 300여 주시기 배유다 도주초조 예배삼ling 양배기구 시대배라조 번종된들게 제니유기 다시라여나 봄도조베시 나조는 배율에 개교지 백gel로 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 Free Tibet Free Tibet
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet
Free Tibet!
Now we would like to invite ('袅) he's the Tcsl, he's the president of the Tibetan community in the Netherlands, and he's been doing an incredible amount of work to organize this protest behind the scenes.
단다 냥잉악지 촉전 슈아이 라서 로서 주지다 라서 단단거저 젤로니토니 장아 진다섬비 치바주 별명랑왕게나 두지레루 받았 단단거저 네덜란드 그 통치 아니 딩할리아 초디오레 테지디 테가 톨리아 단단거저 딩차 톨리아 거저 별명만 진티다 안테가나 싱갈라고 베르소바카게 초저도저 테가르 지페로나 테지디 나바서 자다다 아니 룸바소소 자다도서 코니 테가 딩차 톨리 지페요로 나서 쉬어이 야 야야야 나바서 페요로나 라서 아니 제다 나바서레 데리 쉬어지리아 다간다 데리그 니모들이야 아니 프로젝트 그 아니 사찰이야 자오단 자나 용게 전주 지비 지그 지동고 장갑중 나고려야 아니 전주 지니 단다바도 몰로 tuk주 레두 담바 코디오레 데니 임바 소장건서 메토 공사 정부 전부 조주비 아니 메토 림바구지니 모조고 벽 탑주 데 단다 마시바지 메티니 조총지니 탑주지니 주린데 레디오레 데니 임바 소사 데리 타부 차천바이나 데니 모조 여러 사쿠노 예비 아니 베리푼다 남바조 차마 사차 찔란존이 아니 모조 별명랑왕게나 텐투주 레디바데 단다 아니 네덜란드 통체 딩하레 송지 제거레 테제디 네덜란드 그 통체 딩하지야데 제당 칼그레 예데가 통체다 아니 잠블레가 칼그레 예데가 촌제가 통체 질 문제 제거레 데니 임바 소자 데데가 통체 제는 것은 남바 차마 뒤지던 존이 뭐고 제가 제가 뒤수데 니모다가 아니 제린도 남바 솔로 쇼비나 아니 테가 월이야 아니 뭐서 칼그레 안드날리아 멕시코 군도 ene kalagre ruchar geala tanda phediore te khora tanda chuchukji chega selendna ngoso chuni siem jel ngoso chuksanji phegre ane te gila na kon ngoso pejong ane kosa kezan jansela che ane te kana ji koi chinti nambani ane peru choba ka chojo naba chamandna phedio ante kana yomma chama te ji ngoso te gilia ane te chadio tanda ngoso tamki jenge ka kalagre ngoso cheja tuso thume mambo즈나 니 네덜란드 용거 칼라가 두초 투미니 ndana 페용기요 안에 되게 질랑 어저 더노마 칼라그레 대체차이 질이야 아니 니곤 잘이야 고촌 제르데 아니 어저 리차드 게알 페니 대가나 예순주 되게 네버털이야 아니 제디 칼라그레 송케나야다 마망 송케나야다 어저 꾸이 고드
갈레그레 원제근 제고 데네게 내당 차디요 데니 임바수자 나바서 데링가 저 바리 로비 내가 솔리아 아니 나바서 처마데 단데 공도 반도와 나히지니 아니 캬주체니 페로나즈 쇼야이 라서
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to see how many people we have from each country. So if you are from the country which they will mention, I would like to have you all shout as loud as you can. Can I ask you where you are from?
Austria.
So how many are from Austria? Oh! Okay, and you?
Switzerland.
Switzerland! Okay, that's already a bit better than Austria. Okay.
Belgium.
Oh, okay. I think Belgium is up until now the loudest, actually. Okay, can I ask you?
The United Kingdom.
Oh, that sounded a bit sad. But those who were shouting, they had a lot of simshuk, so they had a lot of power behind their voices, so thank you for that.
Oh, from the Viking Sweden.
Oh, that was louder than I had expected.
Italia.
It's getting continuously sadder. I think we should have stopped at Belgium. Spain?
From Spain.
Spain! Oh. And I think there's one very important one which I'm missing is the Netherlands.
France.
Okay. Wow. I almost forgot one. Our neighbor.
We are from Germany.
Deutschland. I think it's incredibly beautiful to see how these Tibetan communities and Tibet supporters from various European countries all around Europe have come here today in The Hague. It shows a moment of unity, it shows a moment of power, but it shows also a moment of community. Now we would like to thank all the Tibetan community representatives for coming here by giving them a kata, which is a white scarf. In the Tibetan culture, it represents respect, compassion, but also thank you. It also often has the 8 Tibetan lucky symbols. Okay, I'll just make something up then. Okay, Tibetan, we're good. So now our next part of the segment will be about Tibetan women in resistance. So Tibetan women have been a huge part of our movement, and they have been since 1959. As you all may know, it's that on 12 March 1959, there was a Tibetan women's resisting, where many of them were also nuns and came to Lhasa and showed that Tibetan women as well disagreed and resisted against the Chinese occupation. I would like to invite the representative of Office of Tibet in Brussels. Her name is (Ticsl), and she is an incredibly inspiring woman who has done so much for our Tibetan movement.
그래서 되네 당가 저게 위범이 등족에 고잡 안에 바설 통주 공원을 너지 른지슈로라네 송시 닝도체 나야르샤
Hello, Den Haag. Hello, Europe. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, and dear friends. Like every year, to mark this important day, Kashag, the Cabinet of the Central Tibetan Administration, has issued a statement. It is 4-paged long, but due to time constraints, I will be providing just a summary of it. And for those of you who are interested, the full statement is made available in Dutch, Tibetan, French, and English. The statement of the Kashag this year reflects on the tragic history of Tibet's resistance against Chinese occupation and policies, and emphasizes the continued resilience and determination of the Tibetan people in the face of Chinese occupation and oppression. It honors the sacrifices of over 1 million Tibetans who lost their lives during the 1959 uprising and subsequent repression. The statement expresses deep concern of China's ongoing policies of Sinicization, which threaten Tibetan identity, culture, and language. It reaffirms the Tibetan people's commitment to nonviolence and dialogue in finding a mutually beneficial solution to resolve the Sino-Tibet conflict through middle way approach, as envisioned by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Having highlighted His Holiness's 3 other principal commitments on Kashag's statements on different occasions last year, this year's statement focuses on His Holiness's 4th principal commitment, which is the revival of ancient Indian wisdom, which seeks to promote a balance between material progress and spiritual growth. According to Western calendar, His Holiness turns 90 this year and will be celebrated as the Year of Compassion. Thank you. The essence of the celebration is to learn, practice, and promote the 4 principal commitments of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Additionally, the statement showcases the efforts in exile to promote and preserve Tibetan studies through well-established institutions like the Central Institute for Higher Studies in Varanasi, the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in Dharamsala, the Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education in Bangalore, etc., with particular reference to His Holiness's impact on integrating ancient wisdom with modern education. The crucial role of Tibetans inside Tibet in inspiring and strengthening the determination and commitment of the Tibetans in exile is central to the message, with an appeal for continued support for Tibet's cause. In conclusion, the statement expresses its heartfelt gratitude to governments, including the Government of India, organizations, and individuals who support the Tibetan cause. Thank you.
Hello. Kongorin zelane ngazo vipomi tingzoge sumju tudenge sungshi ningdu da de jene dokse sungshi sabjina wa tele ningda ma tujina shuayi andi shela na parta vipomi tingzoge kozap kongo kesan janzela je sungshi nangyure ane de kongo kesan janzela ngodo na ya chidola puyo mama chidu pande 지도 토된 완제라 야페 지까마 닝이 나로라 ngodo ning tu shi ge zong na sha yi de je
OK 这个상말로라 자시들의 망고쇼여다. Thank you for everyone. Many 자시들eks to be here. Today we are not here for a party or picnic. We came here to commemorate and remember we lost our country since 66 years we have suffered, Tibetan people inside Tibet. We lost our independence, we lost our right, and we lost our, even there's a danger to diminish our culture, language, and religion. Therefore, we are here gathered, all Tibetan communities and Tibet support groups in Den Hague, in the capital of Netherlands. I want to say thank you for all your participation and your presence to support Tibet. And before giving introduction to Mr. Kelsang Gyaltsen La, I want to say a few words. That is, we Tibetans are a peace-loving country. We follow Mahatma Gandhi, ahimsa, non-violence, and we follow His Holiness Dalai Lama's his message of peace, non-violence, and human values we are carrying on. Therefore, we are gathered here, different part of Europe, friends of Tibet and Tibetans. And we have also here, I want to say, the chief guest, our old friend, Mr. Richard Gere, and also our friends, Ernest Cantor, who came from America. I want to say thank you for your acceptation of our invitation to be here with us. So we Tibetans, it's our responsibility to preserve our identity, our culture, and our religion, and follow the instruction of His Holiness Dalai Lama. Very, very important. Yes? So therefore, I would like to say so many things to inspire, and we shouldn't give up, never give up our struggle. We should fight for our independence and our freedom and human rights inside Tibet. So, I'm going to introduce Mr. Kelsang Gyaltsen La. Not necessary to introduce too much because everybody knows who is Mr. Kelsang Gyaltsen La. He has worked more than 30 years. His service to Tibetan Central Administration, Tibetan government exile. Mr. Kelsang Gyaltsen La was born in Tibet, in Kham province. And then in 1951 he was born in Tibet. Then he was exiled, and in 1963 he was sent to Switzerland to get a better and modern education. So he have achieved a lot of educations, trains in business and administrations, and he worked in a Swiss bank. Can you imagine one Tibetan man working in Swiss bank? This is Mr. Kelsang Gyaltsen La. So since 1983, he have also voluntarily worked for the Tibetan government in exile, and also he became 1985 since he, especially in war to His Holiness Dalai Lama to dialogue with the Chinese government, for the resolve our problem of Tibet. So this is what, we can say so many things. So I think there's no time to say, and I want to invite Mr. Gelsen to come and speak for us. Please come in.
这俺不熟悉，是但俺写过的。Dear friends of Tibet, dear fellow Tibetans, as we gather here today to commemorate the great uprising of 10th March 1959 of the Tibetan people against the occupation and annexation of their country by the People's Republic of China, the geopolitical environment of the world is going profound changes. Russia's unprovoked military aggression against Ukraine has plunged Europe in a state of deep political tumult. The sense of uncertainty, fear, and abandonment is gripping around Europe. In these days, as a Tibetan living in exile in Europe, my thoughts and heart go out also to the people in Ukraine with a deep sense of sympathy and solidarity. I'm asking myself whether Russia would have invaded Ukraine at all if Putin were not assured of, quote, limitless friendship by Xi Jinping, the Chinese leaders, when they met in Beijing in February 2022, just 18 days before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It seems unthinkable that Putin did not take Xi into confidence. Xi Jinping would have considered such an omission an offense and a breach of trust and among friends and allies. The probability that he endorsed Putin's military aggression is exceedingly high, especially in the light of Xi's unwavering political and economic support for Putin since the start of the war. Back in 1950, Joseph Stalin, then leader of the Soviet Union, endorsed Mao Zedong's plan to invade independent Tibet. We Tibetans feel very close to the Ukrainian people because there are parallels to both people. Both countries have been invaded by far larger and more powerful neighbors in flagrant breach of international law. Both aggressors, China and Russia, are dictatorships whose present leader openly pursue revisionist policies with the aim of restoring the glory and grandeur of their past colonial empires. Albert Einstein once said, quote, "The world is not threatened by people who are evil, but by those who tolerate the evil," end of the quote. Consequently, the lesson is clear. Do not shirk responsibility of standing up against dictatorships of this new century. Presently, a historic context for dominance is taking shape between two political systems, authoritarianism on one side and liberal democracy on the other. Ukraine is the battlefield where this context is being fought out. The outcome of this war in Ukraine will have far-reaching global consequences, including on the behavior of the Chinese Communist regime in Beijing, for example, on the issue of Taiwan. There is today little dispute among most. For too long, the international community, including Europe, has tolerated the unlawful occupation and annexation of Tibet by the PRC. This act was and still is in breach of international law. To a certain extent, the cultural genocide taking place today in Tibet is a consequence of the negligence of this issue by the international community. The failure by the international community to uphold international law in the face of her unlawful act against Tibet has emboldened the sense of impunity of successive Chinese leadership and imbued them with an unbridled sense of entitlement and arrogance. This failure impacted greatly the behavior of PRC as an international actor on the world stage. The Chinese Communist regime is now applying its Tibet experience as a playbook for other international disputes in which the PRC is involved. From the contested peaks of the Himalaya to disputed waters in the South China Sea, we are witnessing today how China is expanding its border claims coincident with its fast rise from a developing country to a superpower. Today, the Chinese Communist Party is determined to change and reshape the international order and the world according to its own perception. This is seen as necessary from the viewpoint of the CCP leaders, because just the presence of free and democratic society represents a threat to its own rule, irrespective of their policies towards China. With this aim in sight, the CCP is pursuing an ambitious, well-planned program to exercise influence, to interfere and intervene worldwide. In this pursuit, the CCP is building an alliance of autocrats around the world. It silently critiques the world over, and is infiltrating and undermining democratic institutions with the aim of weakening the opposition and the resistance to its global ambitions. Nevertheless, there are still some lingering illusions about this regime among some politicians as well as China experts in Europe. For example, some are expressing the hope that China might play a role in bringing about an end to the war in Ukraine. This is just wishful thinking. The CCP regime will never do so in ways acceptable to Europe. The reason is simple. It is in the interest of this regime and to its advantage if there is uncertainty, fear, and chaos in Europe. Despite this obvious fact, if European governments were enticed to seek some form of alignment with this regime, it would be a grave political misjudgment. It would only drive a wedge between the United States and Europe. This is precisely the playbook that the CCP department, United Front, applies to its enemies: divide and conquer. In conclusion, there is no hope of China becoming a responsible stakeholder of the international community, nor hope for Europe of overcoming the threat that China poses until and unless there are major and fundamental political changes in China. This is the political imperative. This is the task at hand. This political imperative is making the Tibet freedom movement, the European Union, and the European government to natural allies in a common cause. For the first time in many decades, Tibetan experience and views of China and that of member states of the EU are beginning to align more with each other. This is good. It creates a conducive basis for strategic discussions and cooperations on China by accepting us Tibetans, Uyghurs, Chinese democracy activists, and Southern Mongolians, not only as victims, but as stakeholders and partners in a common cause. Let us therefore make clear today, as Tibetans living in Europe, we deeply admire and cherish the spirit of Europe. At the core of Europe's spirit is a fundamental belief in the inherent equality and dignity of all peoples and in the values of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Guided with this spirit, Europe succeeded in defeating and eliminating tyranny and despotism on the continent of Europe. Today, Europe is one of the last bulwarks of liberal democracy. The world needs Europe to play a leading role in defense, protection, and promotion of human rights. The oppressed people around the world needs Europe's commitment and dedication to these values beyond the shores of Europe. Today's gathering of free citizens of Europe for a common cause and with a common message on Tibet sends a clear and strong message to the leaders of Europe. It is time now for Europe to stand in solidarity with the people of Tibet and to act on Tibet with resolve and determination. For us Tibetans, this is also an occasion to express to our friends from all over Europe our sincere and deep appreciations and gratitude for your sympathy, support, and solidarity. Together, we have experienced many twists and turns in the epic freedom struggle of the Tibetan people. On this long march, our common commitment to non-violence, freedom in Tibet, and our shared values of peace, truth, and justice have made us to brothers and sisters in spirit, despite the difference in ethnicity, culture, religion, and language. No amount of money, no power can buy such friendship, solidarity, and commitment. This is the true strength of Tibetan cause and the power of a culture of non-violence and compassion. There is no hope, there is no doubt in my heart, that change and better days will come to Tibet. This change will come by the force of the power of truth, non-violence, and compassion. This change will come by the strength of the cultural resilience and cultural confidence of our people. This change will come also by the power of solidarity and support from people across the world committed to human solidarity and the values of truth and justice and freedom. The time of freedom for Tibet will come, and the bells of freedom will ring in the lands of snow. May Tenzin Gyatso, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the protector of the land of snow and its people, in the lives to come, May he live long. Thank you.
공라니 공라 차트마이나 다 그지 자동 탑속에 나치름베게 도스지 고삽낭제네 아니 하장게 냠용다 제 보자게 빠르블라 니수 가르쳐 오면 밑에 신도 하장은 하장게 엔지게 친도 여비게 도스면나 차되어 되는데 아 디게 도네 아니 드린 깔아 닝도 송아텔라 투지체 쉬어이 아니 단다 디바로텔라 자다 쉬어지라 단다데 메만족이 소소소기 지기 잘라다 아니 잡고다 디게 사마야 소소소야 붙이는 다고지로 치스 어때 됐는가 도스 어디 쉬어이 아니 디지라 당가조데 저런 신바티 가르스나 드린 아주 유럽 냠들 품이 다디 숨지 투텐 송지 되게 다담테 도스 단다 닝두 마송야레 데라 아니 가르스나 유럽 숨지 투텔라디 나주그 보지테 유럽 부다 냠도 유이시피 보지 되게 토네 도스 유럽 사코르카 사마니 프로젝트가 냠좀기 토네 랭구 시자체비 랭구도 페르기 요레 티기 낭도 닝투 나주 테림 다담테 반데 보면 진두 토테 자조라네 닝두시 카르마 좀그 나로라 좀로 나스샤 이토체
다시들레 생기도와 타기어서도 거기서만 다시들레 생기도와 some feedback okay 다시들레 생기도와 okay I would like to extend special words of thanks our former Special Envoy of His Holiness Dalai Lama Kongwe Kesan Chancellor and my colleague Venerable Europe Chiti Kushongwan Chinla and Brussels Naranzo Kongo Tunjo His Holiness Representative Ms. Rinzing Diankala, and also I would like to extend my special acknowledgement for the presence of Enes Kender, who came from New York all the way to extend his support and his solidarity. Please give him a big applause. Also, let me say special thanks to Mr. Richard Gerd, who is a friend of Tibet since more than 40 years and a very close student of His Holiness Dalai Lama. He will be in few minutes among us. Please give him a big applause. Also, I would like to thank two honorable Dutch Parliament members who just came to us and they will speak on the stage shortly. Please welcome them also. And we are now in the state of peace and justice. The Chinese invasion, illegal occupation of a country is all about to restore peace, justice, freedom of Tibet. So, today, Tibetans all across the world, we are came together, we will remain forever united, and we will work together to build a better future, a free Tibet, a Tibetan Tibet. Can you say yes? 다양 알라 랭게지 됐어. 양디 인지나 로라마다 보거나 로 투투메나 지기시기 들어와. 아니 이 인지나 지로 봐쇼. So I'm told that to read out the statement of today, Hague Declaration, 5th Europe Rally for Tibet. Tibetan and the free world are commemorating 10th of March 2025 as the 66th anniversary of the Tibetan National Uprising Day against Chinese communist
and Tibet in 1959. We, the undersigned Tibetan communities, and our Tibetan support groups in Europe have gathered in The Hague, the City of Peace and Justice, to observe this historical resistance event under the banner of Europe Stands with Tibet, and to raise our collective voice in support of Tibetan people's peaceful struggle for freedom. 66 years ago, Tibet witnessed the first mass uprising, which was met with brutal crackdown and resulting in tens of thousands of deaths. His Holiness Great Fortune of Dalai Lama was forced to flee to India, where he continued to live to this day. This year, we also celebrate the 19th anniversary of this remarkable day, who has guided the Tibetan struggle and whose call for freedom, non-violence, and reconciliation has resonated far beyond Tibet and the world. Now I have to finish test, okay? This solemn day commemorates the courage of those who stood against oppression on 10th of March 1959 and serves as somber reminder of 6 decades of ongoing suffering for Tibetan and their unmatched resilience as a people and as a nation against Chinese colonial repression. Today, in full view of the world, Tibet is least free country on earth, according to the US-based think tank Freedom House. It is harder for journalists to travel to Tibet than to North Korea. For 66 years, China has been relentless in its effort to erase Tibet from the collective memory. Despite this, Tibetans have never wavered in the determination to preserve their heritage and seek justice. Tingri earthquake, a crisis ignored. On January 7, 2025, a devastating 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck in Tingri area in central Tibet, resulting in hundreds of deaths and thousands of injuries. The quake caused widespread destruction, leaving many Tibetans homeless and direct need of assistance. Despite the urgency of the situation, Tibetans from other regions were prohibited from offering assistance to those affected. Local officials imposed strict and restriction on travel and aid distribution, preventing Tibetan communities from providing support, and this restriction have left many Tibetans, both in Tibet and in exile, feeling helpless and unable to send aid due to the tight control, and it's deepened the sense of isolation and hardship for Tibetan, underscoring the urgent need for continued international attention. Call to action, a European responsibility. As we mark this important historical day, we call upon the European governments, institutions, and citizens to acknowledge their moral
and political responsibility and contributing to a peaceful and just resolution of the Sino-Tibetan conflict. We urge our government to uphold the fundamental values and principles that Europe pride itself on and to commit to respecting the universal rights of the Tibetan people by taking account and follow points. 1. Develop a coherent and coordinated policy on China. Second, officially receive His Holiness Dalai Lama and the democratically elected Tibetan leaders. Third, endorse the medieval approach, support the vision of the general autonomy for Tibetan within Chinese framework, and make concerted effort to persuade Chinese leaders to resume a meaningful dialogue with representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama without any precondition. 4. Pass legislation like the Reserve Tibet Act and the United States. 5. Leverage the European Union's economic power to demand accountability of Chinese government in Tibet. 6. Urge a moratorium on the construction of mega drum and exploitation of Tibet natural resources. Bujalo! Bujalo!
Purgalo!
Bujalo!
Purgalo!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet! Thank you so much. We have a special announcement to make that I'm happy to announce that Richard Gere has come to the protest and he will be speaking this afternoon. And now there he is. You can wave. Woo! Yes. Yes. Okay.
Ask the people to now invite the
Yes. Thank you so much. Take a seat. Oh, you can say hello. Want to say hello?
I don't think people can see. I think, how do I get up so everyone can see? Where's the stairs?
Afterwards, see the steps you have to
Okay.
go all the way back.
All right, they're not letting me talk right now, but I'm so happy to be here and to see all of these hundreds, thousands of people who have come here in solidarity with the people of Tibet, in solidarity with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that we're all in this together. This community of people that have a vision of possibility of how we can live on this planet together. And the value of Tibetan culture, the value of Tibetan people, the value of all of us as brothers and sisters here, is that we can make this work. We have to speak, we have to continually talk, we have to continually engage with nonviolence, with generosity, with love, with compassion, with understanding, with wisdom. But His Holiness always... What?
We're reserving you for later. Yeah.
Oh, they're telling me to stop talking now because I'm talking later. But I'm like a wind-up doll. Once I start, I don't stop. So I'm going to sit down now, but I think I'm going to be back here in a few hours and I'll speak some more. But I love you all. Tcsl.
So thank you. Okay, now announce the two parliamentarians. Okay.
Okay. It's an incredible privilege to be standing even in the same space with Richard Gere. The amount of work and passion he has put in for the Tibetan freedom movement, we're incredibly thankful as the entire Tibetan community. I'm 100% sure I can say that with conviction. Now, I do realize that this is a photo session for the two politicians and Richard Gere. I think I've turned into a photo op. I would like to invite you two, though, to come up right now and speak. These two, you can come to the back. These two are two Dutch parliamentarians, and they have been putting in incredibly hard work for the Tibetan freedom movement for the past few months. They're both from Foreign Affairs, and I would like to give a big applause.
라서 드네 다단다 코 넘버 2로 이나 네덜란드 주주투메 부동 잡조를 쇼침보 유령볼라는 게 어두스레 안에 넘버 속이 차셔 쳐스답제 등지돌아 드네 쇼로 나오셔 도체
Ik zal het nog ook even in het Nederlands zeggen, omdat ze natuurlijk Nederlandse parlementariërs zijn. Dit is Jan Pertenotte van D66 en ook in de Commissie van Buitenlandse Zaken. Hij heeft ook zich enorm hard gemaakt voor... ze hebben allebei zich hard gemaakt voor een verenigd beleid tegenover China, waarbij Tibet centraal staat. Dit is Isa Kamman van Nieuw Sociaal Contract. Oh, ook even een applausje voor allebei. Het is bijzonder moeilijk om je uit te spreken voor Tibet tegenover zo'n land als China. En het feit dat er gebeurt in de politiek, daar zijn wij dankbaar voor als een Tibetaanse jongere die hier in Nederland opgroeit. Is het als studenten bijzonder moeilijk om je politiek actief in te zetten. En het feit dat we daarvoor vertegenwoordigers hebben die ons standpunt kunnen vertegenwoordigen, daar zijn wij dankbaar voor. En ik geef nu het woord aan jullie. Ja.
Thank you so much. Should I use this microphone or?
Yes,
yeah?
that works.
Thank you, and it's so impressive what Tibetan students in the Netherlands, what they are doing to build connections and to stand up for human rights. So, thank you, Tashi Delek. Ladies and gentlemen, as a member of the Dutch Parliament, it's an honor to stand here with you today. And today, of course, we remember March 10th, 1959, the start of the uprising against Chinese rule in Tibet. But I also want to remember March 12th, the Women's Uprising Day, when thousands of women gathered in front of Potala Palace, starting non-violent protests true to the Tibetan values. Gurten Kusang led such a demonstration. A mother of 6, a leader of women. She was peaceful and yet determined to speak out for Tibet. Later she was arrested by the Chinese and executed by a firing squad. The uprising was quashed, but Tibetans all around the world have shown that you cannot quash Tibetan spirit. Because Tibetan spirit is far more than just land or even one people. It is something about the whole world. And the struggle for Tibet's freedom did not end in 1959. It goes on today when Tibetans face new forms of oppression. Today, the Chinese government does not even allow the name Tibet anymore. The government forces children out of their parents' home at the age of 4 to go to boarding schools. But this effort to erase Tibetan culture and identity will not succeed. It will fail. Yet it is a crime against humanity, and governments around the world must speak out and take action. I'm convinced that together we will stand strong because the Tibetan spirit can never be crushed. Be Gyalo! Thank you very much.
Tashi Delek. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to stand with you in support of Tibet and all those who are repressed. We are witnessing increasing threats to civil liberties worldwide, particularly the fundamental right to freedom of religion. Authoritarian regimes such as China were once in minority, but they are now becoming increasingly influential on the global stage. Emboldening them to intensify repression at home. After the death of Mao Zedong, many in the West believed that China would gradually evolve into a liberal democracy. The economic reforms introduced by Deng Xiaoping led to unprecedented prosperity and economic transformation unlike any seen in history. We assumed that with prosperity would come the embrace of liberal democracy, but reality has shown us otherwise. Since the Tiananmen Square protest, we have seen a steady increase in repression, with ethnic and religious minorities suffering the most. The hope of liberal values taking root in China has proven to be an illusion. One might have thought that China's technological advancements would contribute to greater freedoms for citizens. The internet became rapidly accessible to the broader population, raising hope that it would foster openness and free expression. Yet, once again, the opposite has proven true. The same technology that could have empowered the people have instead been weaponized to tighten government control, restrict access to information, and suppress dissidents. We gather here today to stand in solidarity with Tibetans who are suffering under the repression of the Chinese regime. Moreover, we must raise awareness here in the Netherlands. For too long, we have been naive about the growing power and influence of China, both within its borders and beyond. We can no longer ignore the increasing examples of Chinese interference in our own country through intimidation tactics, cyber attacks, and espionage. It is imperative that we take a stronger stance against these actions.
Okay. Number 2.
We firmly believe that under the current political structure of the People's Republic of China, Tibet does not enjoy the autonomy it rightfully deserves. Tibetans must be granted self-determination and the religious freedom they once had. That is why we must continue to stand against authoritarian regimes, advocating for justice and diplomatic level, and holding the Chinese government accountable for its inhumane policies. To all of those oppressed by the Chinese regime, I want to encourage you to continue organizing and advocating for your rights. The greatest threat to these regimes is a united and resilient civil society. Your struggle is not in vain, your courage inspires us all. Know that the Netherlands stands with the Tibetan people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isa Karaman and Jan Paternotte. Now we would also like to offer a kata to both of you. One by Wangpo Tedongla, who is the Executive Director from International Campaign for Tibet Europe. And the other one by Yishe Chunenla, who is the Vice President of the Tibetan community in the Netherlands. Thank you so much. It is so important to have political representatives speaking up for Tibet. And having Jan Paternotte and Isa Karaman doing that right now in the Commission of Foreign Affairs is incredibly meaningful, and I hope they continue to do that work. Thank you so much. Now we have another special speaker. It just does not stop. What? No. It is an incredible amount of privilege and honor to have Nobu Tsedingla introduce our next chief guest, who is Enes Kanter. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, everybody, especially Dutch Parliament, members of Dutch Parliament. That now is the turn to invite a very special guest, the Enes Kanter Freedom. Many of you know about Enes Kanter Freedom. he has been supporting for the cause of Tibet, for the cause of justice, for freedom, justice. He is just come from all the way from New York City to the Hague for the special event today, and he just sacrifice a lot for the just cause of Tibet and freedom. He just regard freedom is more important than money. That is the concept what the freedom fighter. Could you please applaud him? Welcome. Tcsl! Free Tibet! Thank you.
Yes. Wow, what a warm welcoming. I want to start with, as you guys see, I don't have any papers because I want to speak from the heart. Because it is important, you know. When I first heard about this event, I got so excited. And I was like, how can I come? You know, and I came from all the way from New York, all the way from America, just to be with you guys. And I'm really honored to be with you today, because today is not only important for you, important for me too. You know, I'm honored to be here because when I was a little kid, I actually grew up as a His Holiness fan. I was following his message because it was very inspiring and it was touching my heart every time. And when I get to MBA, right, I started to speak up about some of the problems that are happening in our world. In my home country, Turkey, unfortunately it's a dictatorship. And just because I talk about the problems that are happening over there, I lost my family. They put my dad in jail. And I started to speak up about the problems that are happening in Turkey, but then, because of the message of His Holiness, I was like, I wanted to stand up for the innocent Tibetans around the world. And MBA didn't like that, because unfortunately MBA is run by the Chinese Communist Party. When I started to speak up about, for Tibetans, my agent, my basketball agent called me and said, if you say another word, if you keep speaking up for Tibetans, you are going to be kicked out of the NBA. You are 29 years old. You can play another 7 years. And he said, 7 years means close to $60 million. So if you want to keep standing up for Tibetans, go ahead. But you're not only going to lose your career, but you are going to lose close to $60 million. I hang up the phone. I never talked to him again. Because while I was comfortably playing basketball in America, on the other side of the world, people, you Tibetans, are losing their loved ones, losing their lives, and losing their homes. I wanted to set an example for all my teammates, and unfortunately, they didn't have the courage to speak up. But I don't want to speak too much because you guys have lots of amazing speakers. The last thing I want to say is every Tibetan born as a freedom fighter, and keep doing what you're doing. Never ever give up. That's the most important thing. Never ever give up. I know that your voice is heard from America, from Canada, Europe, Australia, Pacifics, and all over the world. Every community that I visited, every Tibetan community that I visited gives me the warmest welcome, and it inspires me to become a better person. And I just want to say one last thing. Unfortunately, as you guys see, we have lots of wars are happening around the world, and so many innocent people, so many kids, and so many women and elderly people are dying. If every world leader follows the peaceful message of His Holiness, every world war will stop. And that is important to keep speaking up and keep inspiring people, because the message of His Holiness will save this world. So, thank you guys so much for inviting me. I would like to call you guys as my brothers and sisters, because now you guys are my family. And I'm one of you guys, and you're one of me guys. And remember this, remember these words. One day, I hope soon, one day, we will all be in Tibet and we will eat momo together. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Free Tibet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have also a kata to thank you, to show our respect. Thank you so much. Give it up for Enes Hunter.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now we have a dear friend of mine, Ajashimi Lamo. She is an incredibly inspiring woman and has been a part of the Tibetan freedom movement for a while. When I was a young girl, she was one of the people who I looked up to most. So I'm very excited to introduce her.
그래서 아니 디지라 나중에 다다 문형게 땀주 동동이 차라리 땀주디 모두 남게 돼 아니 믹스게 쇼제 등두기 신용 차상와요와 다 나시게 지금 쇼제 참매게 맥베 따사게 랭거와 네디 챙게게 침이 하말라리 아니 뭐라 탄다 등지나 패제 두세 땀주디 모두 나로 나샤이
Delia, China Consa Kangum Chola, Kuchangondo Shuatan, Chapchi, Taring, Sumju to Jengi, Koti Sopa, Kale Hajang Mambo, Gaval Habadu, Europe, Sane, Kawa, Kasane, Mivang, Tinde Mangu Pewa de Lea, Nin Tapane, Tujana Shui. Manjo, Pela Rawa Yubit, Soa Yong Dang, Temba. Swinge digi mido di tanda tuzu de la nyungru duyor. Pe nalia pe mi manguchik segiyor. Chonga nala dagiyor. Nganju gi koryu tang bomba toshi tangiyor. Pebe nangla bu lo somshi yimina. Kunzo la chone tenja loja nala zuyor. Tenja nala nganzo la kakabya chidu gezam gewe tagnu. Pechutangni gyana shungi nganzo pe miri kuran zeme tangayagi tapshi chiwe kapsu nganzo chikdong gugya ngapchu ngagu lola hasa nala langba nashi nidong ge amdong ngawala langba nashi chura gyabdu tegegi mimangcho langba nashi tanda tingli la sayam gyabdu pe yongi pe mitso tundi chene 파츠 겹겨 치네 랑레번 너싱 타링 숨주 두제 니모 델리아 nganzo 창말로 시대당 장댕기 게사 해글라 좀네 젠조 베리 둔다 용 산에 거와 가살라 냠도 랑레요레 잠불링 디 기와테 땡키르 디나시 게나게 기와테기레 Pönangla gyua dre di gyutso di pönangi pönutso Kuran zegi simshu tang tundi yimba tang ge tso chik nganzo pepe shenge tso ngaranze shenge tso mitune langyayi mito kumege kale gyaba di temba tun namya majewa thone jongdar chene tuzu tune kane shedang nubadan dembe laglen tarya semne nyamlen cheya ngaranze ge shenge dunzo thadi chigiyo dangi lo shenge ngapya sumjul hasla ngaranze ge shiven lam thone dang thapchu da dembe legu pedang sabjon tebere din nashi nganzo mutune thadi chedeyo sonza pemitso macha semshu macha ronang 전전하라 별을 뿐다서 제지 냠도 영외당 별라 기벤 이모 샤리알라 nga저 창물로 밑에네 냠도인다 배기 닥도
대회의
배낭라 배미초 nga저 조고제요 그체낭 인지나라 츠크셰시 슈초치 Greetings, Tcsl everyone. I am a Tibetan who's never seen Tibet, but fight every single day to be able to someday see home. In this world where we've been divided and taught to hate the other as authoritarian regimes and autocrats attempt to consolidate power, there is still hope. There is hope when the international community will call for the release of all political prisoners like His Holiness the Panchen Lama, who's been missing for 30 years. There is hope when the international community will stand up for the future by protecting the rooftop of the world that serves water for over 1.4 billion people. There is hope because take a look at us. Today we are gathered here at The Hague, a city of peace and justice. And someday soon, dictators like Xi will also be here, but inside the courts. Because, listen up, dictator Xi Jinping, wherever you are, your time is running out. The people are rising. We, the people, will continue to rise. It is a new turf, new horizons. The next generation of freedom fighters are here. Working alongside the generations that came before, side by side with the spirit of our ancestors. We are driven by love, community, and simshu, a type of courage that you can't even imagine and definitely cannot erase. Whether it is in the streets of Lhasa in 1959, or in Amdo Ngaba or Kamdege, or even in front of the Guimet Museum in the streets of France every week for the last 6 months, we will continue to show up. So, to the international community, join us. And with your support, please allow me to rephrase my first sentence as I, with you all, correct the history and rewrite the history. Rewrite our futures together because we are the Tibetans. Yes, we are the Tibetans. Some of us may not have seen Tibet, but you damn bet we will. Someday, very soon, return home. Thank you. Tishulia, Peranja Lubitoke, Netherlands, Sanegi, Chepsi, Tamjoji, Kugire, Sonza, Namling to Peranja Lubitoke, Netherlands, La Chashukchin, Dabronans, Lishui. Up next, please welcome on stage SFT, the Netherlands, to present a political theater. Thank you.
Wanneer jullie het podium oplopen, gooi je hem open. Oké.
조제는 치밀라.
Ja.
Thank you.
Ze begint in het midden en dan gaat ze naar rechts. Zit in het midden en rechts.
This is our story, a story of a land stolen, a culture oppressed by the weight of cruel tyranny. This is our resistance that refused to be erased.
Someone got backflip shit.
Leave our land, leave our waters, leave our hope. Leave our land, leave our waters, leave our hope. Leave our land, leave our waters, leave our hope. Leave our land, leave our We plead for what little remains. oppressor does not listen.
Who is the leader of this protest?
But the oppressor does not listen. Please leave us alone. Give us freedom, please. Leave us alone. No, please. Leave us alone. We want freedom. Please. Her child was not just taken away. Her child was forced to colonial boarding schools where they, like thousands of other Tibetan children, are being forced and brainwashed and remade into our oppressors.
That's not it. Coming in at 20. We finish in 5 minutes.
What's your name? I asked, what is your name? What? We do not speak that filthy Tibetan language here. Do you understand?
It's more than words. It is history. It is culture. It is our identity.
Are you listening? How many times do I have to tell you, huh?
And to erase people, and to erase our people, they erase our voice.
Yeah, she did it.
And when the earth shakes, the world is told it was nature's will. But we know better. Palestina, Tingli is falling. The damages are devastating, and no help has arrived yet. The Chinese government claims to be sending help, but no.
Everything in your power to help this unfortunate event. 中国政府正在竭尽全力的帮助。
Lies because of you. People are dying. Our homes are destroyed by the Chinese government. They say that strength is measured by force, but they forget strength does not lie in just weapons or power, but in those who refuse to bow.
And I will keep fighting for our freedom. I cannot give up. I will not give up. But will you stand with me too? Will you raise your voice when they try to silence us? Will you open your eyes when they try to erase us? Will you act when justice demands it? Who is with me? Me! Money of the student!
Nothing! Longsho! Pegalo!
Free Tibet!
Nie żył. 주타파투 간소이 샤세를 라마투바 자을세는 당중 간소이 샤세를 라마투바 자을세는 당중 직방구 병아 중학을로 개체미마 우두선대 탐이기 베베야라로유 개체미마 우두선대 탐이기 베베야라로유 로쇼 로쇼 베미남 삼림이 망한 특약돌로쇼 대대 바보쓰지 삼림이 망한 특약돌로쇼 대대 바보쓰지 론쇼 땅이 강근체모 공사이시노부 시제표민선지 강근체모 공사이시노부 시제표민선지 다오시마라마 생기야마 편에 탓을 동기 기침이 말로쇼 생기야마 편에 탓을 동기 기침이 말로쇼